Greetings, YouTube. Today I'm going to discuss Relics and Rituals II Lost Lore for the Scarred Land setting from Sword and Sorcery Studios. Now, as I was thinking about doing this video today, it occurred to me I haven't done the Relics and Rituals #1 yet, so I should probably throw that into my queue to be done. But my current queue of books I want to do reviews of for gaming is kind of long, so that may be a bit. But other than obviously being a sequel to Relics and Rituals #1, this book is very Scarred Land centric. It's also 3rd edition as opposed to 3.5, and that affects its usefulness, I think, to gamers, and it also affects the fact that some people aren't going to be interested in it. I realize the differences between 3rd and 3.5 aren't great, but there are some, and there are things in this book that are kind of redundant at this point. I'll explain why in a moment. So I'm going to look at the table of contents here. The first chapter deals with magic, and a lot of the magic in this book is tied to the horoscope and the calendar of this world and the gods specific to this setting, the Scarred Land setting. And this is a fully fleshed out chapter. It's like 20 pages long. Lots of information here about the horoscope, the gods themselves, how the calendar benefits some gods as their moon is coming in and out each month, and feats and abilities tied into these, as are some of the prestige classes later in the book. Lots of detail, very well thought out, very, very well written. And anyone who's seen one of my videos is probably waiting for me to say, but, and well, here it is. I would never use this. It is too complex for me. It is simply a level of detail that I, as a GM, don't want. I don't have time for it. I don't know any players who have time for this. Keeping track of specific days and moon cycles is very flavorful, but isn't something I'm going to do. Now, if there was like some piece of software to handle all of this for me, and I could just say, okay, today is this day, boom, and I could just tick off the days as it keeps track of all this stuff, then maybe I might use it. But that may even be more effort than I want to put into it. It's great. It's really well done, and it isn't something that I'm really interested in the least. Next, we have prestige classes, and the prestige classes, for example, the high astrologer, tied directly into the whole horoscope cycle of the year, calendar, moon things. So a lot of these prestige classes are intimately tied to the Scarred Land setting. Because of that, I'm not sure what kind of portability they have outside that setting. However, if you like the Scarred Land setting, here you go. Got great stuff here. Next, we have a chapter on spells, and I didn't read every single entry. But the nice thing is that at the top of each spell is a little blurb, which is like 2 lines, which gives you a rough idea of what the spell does, which is really nice, because I just read those and stopped and checked one out. And there was one in here called Continual Heat, and this spell is a world shaker. All right? It takes a fist-sized rock of igneous rock and heats it up to red hot forever. It's a 2nd level spell, and it turns 1 fist-sized rock into a heat source that never goes out. That would change the world. Steam power just became completely doable. You have eliminated any of the fueling problems for dwarven or underground societies. They would be in every dwarven forge in the world. It states specifically that it creates a 20 cubic foot area of 70 degrees. That's an odd thing. It's not even 3 cubed or 2 cubed. It's something in between, It's kind of weird. Why they picked that number, I don't know. But it just says that the stone, if picked up, and if you touch someone with it, or if you bang against it, it does 1d4 damage. And that means it's putting out a lot of heat. Enough heat that if you put it in contact with a vessel with water in it, it's going to boil that vessel fairly quickly, especially if you have more than one. For example, you take 3 or 4 of these stones, you've got a stove. You just make sure the stones are the same size. You put your pot on top. You're cooking. That's cool. You put one of these things inside the head of a metal mace, light mace or heavy mace, suddenly you've got a non-magical mace that does an additional 1d4 damage. For a second level spell. Okay? Now I have no idea if that's properly balanced or what. Even if you were to bump it up to a third level spell, it would still be a world changer. It's an endless source of energy. That's cool. So that right there makes this list of spells, if nothing else, interesting. We have a chapter on true rituals, really complex rituals, things that take a lot of effort to produce. I can't remember what they called them in third 3.5, but you understand that there's really advanced magic, basically. A whole chapter on magic items, the relics in this. Some of them were interesting. There's a section on tattoo magic, which is cool. I really like tattoo magic, so I was glad to see that there. Some minor and major artifacts. They're always handy to have. Question. One thing about the feats. A lot of these feats, I think, were made superfluous by the complete books put out for 3.5. Like this, the feats put out for arcane and divine magic pretty much makes all the divine and arcane magic feats in this that aren't tied to the astrology pretty much useless. So that's not a good thing. Then we have a chapter called the Slaricin Legacy. Apparently, the Slaricins were a race of subterranean beings, lizard people, that were into slavery, and what they would do is they would spread a psychic plague, and this psychic plague would rewrite the victim's mind so they could only speak the Slaricin language. So as soon as the Slaricin showed up, everyone would speak their language, and they could be easily conquered because they couldn't communicate with anybody else. But it's also had an unintended consequence in that it mutated and it started to open up people's minds and open their ability to have psychic abilities. So, bingo, this thing gets spread. It does, in fact, change their ability to speak languages, but it also lets them then have the option of being a psychic character, having psionics. Not the intended purpose of the slavers. And hence legacy because this happened in the past kind of thing, which I thought that was kind of cool. Then we have a whole list of lost tomes. I really like lost tomes. Books that general information, what's in the book, the types of spells or types of knowledge that each one contains. I thought that chapter was very good. Now, I picked this up pretty cheap. I think I paid $12 for it. I haven't checked online. I'll do a quick check on Amazon for the notes on this. But definitely, I think this book is worth it if you don't mind wading through quite a bit of Scarred Lands stuff to get to the good stuff. And if you like Scarred Lands, this is a no-brainer. If you don't own this book, it needs to be in your collection.